What's up guys, my name is Stu, and today we're going to be talking about the Federation Responders Bundle and the ships that come in it. Guys, we are getting 3 new Zen Store ships, so who cares what else I have to say about that, let's just get to the review. Yep, that's right, we're getting 3 new ships coming to the Sea Store. They are coming in a bundle called the Federation Responders Bundle, but the 3 new ships will also be sold separately, so if you don't want the full bundle, don't worry about it. All 3 will also have fleet versions, so technically you'll be able to get any 3 of these ships for free if you don't care about the consoles or traits. I'll start by reviewing the ships first, and then we'll get into information about the full bundle. Though before I get into that, I do want to explain the formatting of this video. I wanted to get this info out as soon as possible, so a lot of this info is piled together from screenshots from the live stream. So I'm kind of borrowing Augie's format for its first impression videos. If you prefer this as soon as possible type video, or if you prefer my usual videos that require me to wait for the official blog, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, the first upcoming ship we're going to be looking at is the Nobel Miracle Worker Research Science Vessel, aka the Tier 6 Olympic. Yep, the Olympic is finally getting a T6 version. Don't get too excited though, because honestly I do not like the stats on this thing. Miracle Worker does not pair well with science builds. It's great for energy weapon builds, it's got plenty of good stuff for a tank build, even mixed armament synergy is at least good for a torpedo build, but it doesn't have any abilities that are especially useful for exotic damage builds or control builds. The Miracle Worker ship mechanic itself is just as unhelpful. Furthermore, the bridge officer seating is also cursed with a Lieutenant Commander engineering seat, which also has very little that's helpful for science builds. Frankly, the only engineering ability you need for a science build is emergency power to auxiliary. That's it. And unfortunately, the bad news does not stop there, because the console and trait are also very bad. The console is called Sphere Separation, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a saucer separation console for the Nobel. The difference with this one is that the separated sphere becomes an immobile support pet. It'll launch resupply buffs, kinda like the Kobayashi Maru transponder does, and also deploys what they're calling a graviton stabilization field, which is just a big shield heal for anything within the 5km AoE. Just like with any other separation, the part of the ship that you still control will receive various stat changes. You'll receive -5 to shields and auxiliary, +5 to weapons and engines, -9.1% hull capacity, and +10% to speed, turn rate, and inertia. Now, pretty much all science builds are very dependent on their auxiliary power, because the strength of most science abilities is determined by your auxiliary power. So why would you use a console on a science ship that lowers your auxiliary power? Seriously, this console is almost laughably bad. Fortunately, no other science ship will be cursed with having this console on it, because it's actually restricted to variants of the Olympic class. That's right, it can't be used on any other ship because of the unique animations. And the starship trait is called Trauma Response. It's a shield heal. I'm not even going to say anything else about it because there's no need, because it's a shield heal trait. Okay, it also offers a little bit of shield penetration along with it, but it's definitely not enough to make this trait of any use. So yeah, my overall opinion of this ship, in case you somehow haven't figured that out yet, it's not good. I mean, it's a pretty ship, I'll give them that, but frankly that's kind of the standard these days for the Stowe ship art team. But in terms of how this ship, console, and starship trait are actually going to perform, I would very much recommend avoiding this ship. I apologize for starting off so negative, but don't worry, things do get better from here because I actually really like the other 2 ships. Moving on to the next ship, the Bozeman Intel Heavy Frigate. That's right, we're finally getting a frigate added to the Sea Store. And I'm very excited about that because I really like frigates. Frigates are very unique because they're kind of like a mix between a cruiser and a raider. So it'll still have that commander engineering seat, which in this case will also be an intel seat, but the rest of it is universal seating. So you're going to have a lot of flexibility in how you set this ship up. Like the commander intel seat suggests, this is a full intel ship, and it also has a 5-3 weapons layout, meaning this ship is going to be really great for either a beam overload build or a surgical strikes build. It is a little light in terms of the tactical consoles because it only has 3 of them. I'm hoping the fleet version adds a 4th one, but even without it, it's still a really good ship. The praise for this ship continues on with its console and starship trait. The console is called Tachyon Net Drones. What it does is launch a series of drones that set up a big detection net, which will cover a 3km area. Enemies inside the net will receive a debuff to damage resistance, cloaked enemy ships will be revealed, and scoring a critical hit will score some extra kinetic damage and take an enemy's shields offline. Additionally, its passives will give small buffs to critical chance, critical severity, and starship perception. Oh, and unlike the Nobel's console, this one can be used on any ship in the game. This is looking like a good console. I don't think it's anything that's going to shake up the DPS meta, but it's a solid console that will benefit your DPS that's well-rounded enough that you can put it on pretty much any sort of damage build that you can think of. And the fact that it's on a Sea Store ship means it will be unlocked on your whole account. And the same goes for the starship trait, Active Temporal Surge. They're doing something new with this one in that this trait is actually an activatable ability, which is a first. Normally starship traits are passive abilities. When you activate this trait, for the next 10 seconds you become untargetable, your crit chance is buffed by 100%, your turn rate goes up by 600%, and your flight speed goes up by 750%. 10 seconds is not a lot of time, but those are some very powerful buffs. This is going to be a really valuable trait, especially for non-tactical and non-Romulan faction characters. Tactical characters, especially Romulans, have always had an edge in buffing their crit chance. And while this certainly isn't going to level the playing field or anything, it's definitely going to help out engineering and science characters more. So yeah, from what we've seen of it, I am loving this ship so far. Great stats, good trait, good console, plus the pod makes it look like the ship has a hat. Yeah, I definitely like this one. Now there's still one more ship to go over, the Cabot Command Light Escort. This ship is a variant of the Shran class with 2 little torpedo pods propped up in the back. Unlike the original Shran, which was a pilot ship, this one is a command ship, which you know what that means, torpedo build. I'm sure there are people who are going to be griping about the 4-3 weapons layout, but don't forget, that's actually better for a torpedo build, because a 5-2 weapons layout means less mine launchers. It's got a decent bridge officer layout. I do like that Lieutenant Commander Universal seat, not quite as into that Lieutenant Commander Engineering seat. Kinda wish they'd have moved that down to Lieutenant and make the Science one Lieutenant Commander, but still looks to be a solid ship. And just like the ship, if you like torpedo builds, you're probably gonna like the console and trait as well. The console is called External Massive Munition Hardpoints. What this thing does is fire a massive quantum warhead at a target which will detonate, often like a torpedo does, dealing some kinetic damage. However, upon detonation, it'll create a cone of damage behind the target you just hit, dealing more kinetic damage to anything caught within that cone. If 3 or more foes are hit within the same blast, you'll receive a stacking buff to kinetic weapon damage for 20 seconds. This console will also give passive buffs to kinetic weapon damage, flight speed, and hull penetration. This console shows a lot of potential. If you look at the bottom of the tooltip, it says it has a 6-second recharge, which makes me think this could function a lot like the Quantum Warhead module or the Immolating Phaser Lance. I'm hoping it's more like the latter because the Quantum Warhead module does trigger a shared cooldown with normal torpedoes. If that's the case, then this console probably won't be that useful because the last thing you want is a console that's triggering a shared cooldown with your actual torpedoes. However, if this doesn't trigger a shared cooldown with your torpedoes, then this could potentially replace the Immolating Phaser Lance, at least for torpedo builds, because that console is often used to build up stacks of universal designs. Won't know till we get our hands on it, but fingers crossed. The trait looks really promising too, Advanced Precision Guided Munitions. Anytime you activate a firing mode, your kinetic damage will be granted extra kinetic damage. So your kinetic weapons will cause what they call sympathetic detonations, which will deal their own amount of kinetic damage. However, if your weapons strike a shield facing that is below 15%, then the sympathetic detonation damage is doubled. So basically it's just more kinetic damage on top of your kinetic damage, which definitely sounds good for a torpedo build. Now, the Cabot will also come with a new experimental weapon, the Graviton Dissonance Flechette Projector. Really hope I pronounced that right. This weapon can deal kinetic damage in a 360-degree arc every 4 seconds. If it strikes a shield facing under 15%, it will completely disable those shields. Definitely an interesting experimental weapon, it definitely fits the theme of this whole ship, though I am doubtful that this will end up outperforming the Soliton Wave Impeller. Of course, if you don't have the Soliton Wave Impeller, this will likely make a good substitute. So overall, the kinetic damage is really the theme with the Cabot. So if you like torpedo builds, odds are you're gonna really like this ship. Now to wrap up with the bundle information. Like I said earlier, this is going to be called the Federation Responders Bundle. It's going to be releasing on PC on July 21st. No release date was given for console yet, but as usual, they're probably just a month or two behind from getting this. The standard price for this bundle is going to be, brace yourself for it, 12,000 Zen. It'll have an initial release sale for 25% off for, I think it was the first week, but that's still 9,000 Zen, which is really expensive. The full contents of the bundle will be the 3 new ships we just reviewed, so that's the Nobel, Bozeman, and Cabot, a 100% off C-Store coupon, 3 fleet ship modules, so that's enough to get a fleet version of each of the new ships, 6 experimental upgrade tokens, that way you can upgrade both the base version and fleet version up to T6X, though frankly upgrading both is rather wasteful. You really only need to upgrade the fleet versions because once you get the fleet versions you're never going to go back to the C-Store versions. 6 ship slots, which again, why 6? No one's going to be keeping both versions of the ships on hand. Once you unlock the Starship trait, you get the fleet version and then dismiss the original, because there's no need for it anymore. And finally, exclusive mirror skins for all 3 ships. So if you were wanting to go with a full Terran Empire theme on these ships, it's going to cost you. Now, at this point in the game, whenever Cryptic releases a bundle, they often pad it with a lot of extra crap to inflate the price a bit. But honestly, it feels really ridiculous in this case. $90 at the sale price, that's a lot of money. And I don't even like one of the ships. Is the bundle worth the price? I mean, technically, yeah, just barely. but it's a lot to spend all at once. If they brought the release sale down to 50%, I'd be much more excited about this, but at 9,000 Zen, I just don't think it's worth it. Fortunately, the ships are available separately, so I don't have to buy the bundle. I'm definitely going to buy the Bozeman when it comes out. I really like that ship. And I feel like it's the one that's going to appeal to most players, largely because it's the one that's best suited to an energy weapon build, and its console and trait are the most well-rounded, meaning they're well suited to pretty much any kind of DPS build. I'm probably going to get the Cabot too, but I might not get it right away. It depends on how well that console and trait end up performing. And as for the Nobel, well, I think I made my feelings on that one pretty clear. So yeah, that is the Federation Responders bundle. Interesting bundle. I can safely say that I am very interested in 2 of those 3 ships. But like I said earlier, I likely will not be getting the full bundle because, man, they really went out of their way to jack up the price of that thing. I'm definitely going to get the Bozeman. I really like that ship, both for its stats and its looks. I'm kind of on the fence right now with the Cabot. I like the stats, but I'm not super into the look of the ship. Really, the deciding factor for me is going to be just how well the Starship trait and console end up performing. So I'm going to end up waiting until Augie's had a chance to test them out. But yeah, the Nobel, that one's just a disappointment. Definitely a hard pass for me. So yeah, what do you guys think of the new ships? Anything pique your interest, or are these going to be a pass for you? Let me know down in the comments down below. While you're down there, be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. It really does help the channel, and I do appreciate it. If you'd like to further support the channel, feel free to hit that join button down below to become a member of the channel for various perks. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.